Well, I don't really have any announcements. You think after taking a month off, I would have a bunch of announcements, but I really can't think of any. I did want to say though, after teaching Friday, after being away for the month, I was just really, overcome with gratitude for people showing up and coming back, and really just allowing me this great privilege to share this practice. It's very dear to me, and getting to share it is also very dear to me. I learn a lot from it. So a very heartfelt thanks for continuing to share it, and we'll just keep exploring doing this virtual situation until things change. So it just feels really good to just kind of share where I happen to be in my practice. That's all I'm really doing is exploring myself, and then the little tidbits that come from that, I'm always happy to share. So I thought I would start today's class with a short reading, so just make yourself comfortable. It's very short. I got a text this morning from my friend Adrian, and it was reminding me of Stephen Harrison's book, Getting to Where You Are, reminding me how funny and sarcastic Stephen can be. And if you want to know more, I don't know which one I have on my recommended reading, but one of his books is there. He's just quite an amazing teacher. So I'll just share this and then we'll get started. So just make yourself comfortable. And this, I've underlined so many things in this book, but this just happens to be, since we're doing yoga, happens to be about enlightenment. So those of you that are interested in enlightenment, pay very close attention to this. Enlightenment's hook is simple, and it goes something like this. You're in conflict and you know it. There's a state of mind in which you will not have to be in this conflict. This state is enlightenment. And it could theoretically happen in the very next moment, but it probably won't happen in the next moment because you're just loaded with messy thoughts and habits, and it's going to take an awfully long time to unwind all this mental junk. Probably lifetimes. Did we mention lifetimes? Reincarnation and all of that? That's why you have so much junk. You've been accumulating this for, well, pretty much forever. It'll take you about that long to fix it. But in the end, presuming you follow these practices during this somewhat lengthy period, you'll, without doubt, and doubt is one of those obscurations we'll have to get rid of to be enlightened. Enlightened, by the way, means that you won't have to struggle to be anything other than who you are, and even the idea of getting enlightened will fall away. It will be really cool and worth all the struggling, meditating, and all of that. In the meantime, have a nice lifetime. And now the meditation of yoga. Good. So if you are lying down, let's come on up. We're going to begin in a sitting position, coming forward. And and just have something, have a larger bolster or a couple of pillows nearby. We're going to use these for the secondary part of this. So what I would like to invite you to do is to just come into a square pose, but I'd like to move into it very slowly. So we'll begin by bringing the left leg in towards you, bend it towards your body, and the right leg, any square that really works for you, the first part. The second part, I'm going to be a little bit more specific with it. So you can do it in an open position, which I really love the open position. You can bring it up just onto the calf and a little bit lower. You could also bring it up onto the knee. So this is probably the most intense for the right side hip and coming into the IT band. So any first opening forward bend in the square position that seems to work for you. And then coming in very slowly is what I'm going to recommend. So we have plenty of time to really explore like the fabric of the physical. So if we come in too quickly, we kind of bypass what we're really doing physically often in these poses because we're just coming into a position. It's really not about a position. It's about how the whole fabric of the body, the felt sense of the body starts to express and respond to the position. So we want to always keep that in mind. So if you could just start whatever position you've developed for yourself, and we're going to keep the right leg either in front or on top, so I'm going to switch the legs around, is just start to first drop your head and shoulders. So there's a sense of relaxation, there's a sense of engagement in the upper part of the spine. And then just very slowly, and since you have the bolstering close by, if you want to just even lean on that, so that can sometimes help you to slow down even more. So you don't go to some favorite habitual position, but you're really interested in, feeling this subtle expression of the body as you come into the pose. I mean, sometimes it doesn't feel so subtle, and that's when we want to give ourselves the permission always to back off a little bit and see if we can cultivate more subtlety so we're not coming into any kind of protection mode. So just relax your body forward and down. Use as much support as you need. And just as we're giving ourselves permission to, hang out in the posture and be very open to whatever the body wants to express, trying to minimize our need to, interpret what we're experiencing from a sense of conditioning, but just feel, physically what we're feeling directly. I would also like you to I would like to invite you to listen in that way as well. So I'd like to just share a little bit about the, what I really consider the real depth and the real essence of yoga. And so just as you're giving yourself permission to listen to your body in a very open-ended and non-conditioned way, the same thing with what I'd like to share. So I'll do so very slowly. Don't so much worry about the language. We're not really listening to understand. We're more just trusting that we will take in something if it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, just let it go. So it's not about listening for information or techniques or something to do. It's just as we're allowing the vibration of the body to be evoked by the posture, you can just let your beingness be evoked by anything that I'm sharing with you. And what's really interesting about this is, that we, carry around this body and we're somewhat involved with our thinking all day long. And so we can come to a yoga practice and it just seems very natural to believe that it is about the body and it is about the mind. This is very natural. And this is really, in my humble opinion, at the very root of the misinterpretation and the distortions that yoga has experienced, over the years when it migrated from the forests and the caves of India. So yoga is not about your body. Yoga is not about your mind. Yoga is not about your feelings. At its very essence, yoga is about your vibrational state. How do you feel? How are you able to access this presence, if you will, this consciousness, if you will, of vibration? How are you able to separate your consciousness, your vibration from all of the circumstances of mind and body and feelings?
Good. So let's come on up from here, please.
Yeah, we'll just open the legs out. So we're making a note that we have that right leg forward or on top, but just let the knees have a bit of a rest here. So we'll just open the legs out. And then we'll take that right leg that we did have in front and we'll bring that in towards us. And we're going to take the bolster or just a pile of pillows about the height of the large bolster, and we'll bring the left leg up on top of it. And again, this doesn't have to be in any, this doesn't have to mimic exactly what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, I would probably just angle the bolster out to give my hip a little bit more space. So this is a lovely, this is actually a deepening then into the piriformis IT band side of now the left leg. So we're, in a way, we're kind of doing the other side, but that's not really relevant. And so again, let's enter it slowly, yeah? So we've got a little bit different angle, range of motion, configuration of the lower body. So let's begin to just really feel the weight of the skull, the weight of the shoulders, and we'll just kind of sink into it. You could also feel the weight of the world if you'd like, but that's not really necessary. Weight of the skull and weight of the shoulders is plenty. And then just kind of sink in. You start to feel resistance in the lumbar area, slow down, support the upper body. Try not to hold the neck up, but really feel these threads of any resistance in the neck as well as the lumbar, and we'll just sink in. So where this gets really interesting and where this exploration of vibration can be just incredibly helpful, and we can make it relevant. So we're not wanting to take this into the realm of the mystical and the esoteric. We know from physics, we know from science that your body is vibrating. We know that everything is vibrating. So the opportunity for us is then to kind of see, what does that actually mean? So what I would like to do is just give it a very generalized meaning, that a negative contraction, when we feel bad, when we feel this negative contraction, this is the vibration contracting. When we feel good and open and positive and expansive, this is the vibration opening. So where this gets very tricky is that when we start to feel this push and pull, if you will, this contraction and expansion of our vibration, we tend to, and this is, based on our individual habits, but we tend to assign this movement, whether we feel bad or good, to our situation or to our circumstances. And then we're caught in this trap. Good circumstances, higher vibration, feeling good, feeling open, feeling blissful. Bad circumstances, bad situation, we come into this negative contraction. We feel bad, and whatever goes along with that. So the yoga then gives us an opportunity to sit with ourself just as vibration and be more interested in attending to our vibrational state than to our circumstantial state. And so this can be, something you're feeling in your heart, a circumstance, ow, it hurts, I'm grieving, I'm afraid. This can be in the physical body, it's feeling dehydrated or stiff or achy. This can be something in the mind. This can be a repetitive pattern, a habit of preoccupation. So it doesn't matter. This can be a focus on an external circumstance. So what the yoga is suggesting is lessen your interest in all of these circumstantial states. Be more interested in your vibrational state. How are you feeling at this level where you are either coming into negative contraction, feeling bad, fearful, closed, not good, and or feeling light, happy, fearless, expansive, open. And I'll say that again, what I said earlier, what we're really attempting to do, and this is very subtle, is to separate our vibrational condition from our circumstances, separate our sense of self as consciousness from our circumstances.
Good. So let's come on up from here. And before we transition, or before you take the leg off the bolster, let's just sit with the spine relaxed and elongated, and just see if you can sink below the the physical posture, the body, any thoughts about anything that I've been saying, and just feel yourself vibrating. Just feel yourself as the life force itself. And notice how this feels if we don't add anything based on circumstances, based on situation, just to feel the vibration, feel yourself as the vibration of life. Good, 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 good. So we can remove that large bolster now, and we're going to come into what's really has been one of my favorite backward bends for a long time. And I'm showing it here, rolling up a blanket with a towel padded. So I've made the towel rather flat. So I'm using the towel to mimic the small bolster. So if you don't have the small bolster, you can use a towel. If you have the small bolster, then we're just going to put one end of the small bolster over the rolled up blanket. So we'll roll a blanket and we'll put either a small bolster rolled over it, or like I said, if you don't have that, the combination would be blanket and I rolled up a towel. It could be another blanket. As you can see, what I'm just doing here is creating just a nice supportive place for the lumbar spine to go. And then what I would also do is take another small blanket and put it towards my head area in case this end of the towel isn't really supporting the neck, because we want to be here for a while. So then what we'll do is we'll sit on the floor in front of this and kind of pull this in and keep the feet on the floor, especially if you're using something that's a little more compressive than you might not feel safe with. You may need to come up and unroll this a bit and then find out where your sense of safety is. We just want a nice, supportive, compressive feeling in the lumbar spine, keeping the buttocks on the floor and then bringing the upper body back. Yeah, and then just determine if it's a little stressful for the neck. You may want to explore that, or you might want to pull that secondary blanket under the neck. And then once you're settled, let the legs relax out. Arms will just be to the side and relax. If the buttocks come off the floor, kind of snuggle down a little bit, and certainly have the level of compression in this area so it feels safe. Most important thing, that it feels safe, but also that you can relax over time, that we're in this approach, we're not trying to ever force anything. We're not trying to change anything, manipulate anything. Again, we're simply trying to, in a way, we're trying to merge with the expression of the body as the posture and the compression and the discomfort are evoking something. So your body's getting to express something, it's taking in this compression, and then we just relax. We just settle into a state of relaxation where there's nothing to do. And even the things that I'm talking about are not necessary to contemplate them. We're just, opening up the vehicle, if you will. And I mean the subtle vehicle, the mental vehicle, the emotional vehicle, just for exploration. And so, what I'm really suggesting, and I do continue to try to simplify it, is that if we're continually needing to change our circumstances to feel good, to change the vibration of our outer world to feel good, then we're caught in some kind of loop, yes? Because those circumstances, the situations are always changing, the thoughts are always changing, the feelings are always changing. So the exploration is to get as close as you can to really start to feel that you are vibratory. Your nature is vibratory.
And that when we contract into this negative vibration, which for the most part, it just comes from a sense of lack. Yes, so when we think that there was a lack, or there is a lack, or there's going to be a lack, we contract. And this is a negative vibration. This, we feel bad. We don't have to complicate it. So the suggestion is to, first of all, relax into the reality that there is no lack. There never was, there is not, there never will be. And then allow your vibration to open, allow your vibration to relax, allow your vibration to be expansive and open and happy and blissful. And be interested in that relationship, be interested in you as vibration, not so much the circumstances, not so much the situations, not so much the mind. Take the power away from them and allow it to weave in through your vibration. And, you know, we don't need to even stay with this word vibration. We can use a presence, beingness, consciousness. I mean, really, you're nothing more than endless consciousness having experiences. So allow this consciousness to be as it is without having to limit it, without having to allow the circumstances of your body, your mind, your heart, your life to contract it. So as you continue to relax and allow um, anything that is contracting your vibration to just dissolve, you gently come into your breathing. And on the inhale breath, nice and slow and gentle and flowing, I just would like you to feel somewhere into your solar plexus. So you're going to inhale and just feel if there's any resistance or anything, really, you don't have to name it, in the solar plexus. And on the exhalation, I would like you to bring your attention to the center of the chest, maybe even over a little bit into the physical heart, but don't need to be that specific. So the inhalation, we're bringing some focus and some breath into the solar plexus. On the inhale, on the exhalation, we're bringing this focus and breath into the center of the chest, and just feel it. Again, we don't need to name it. There's a great balance of wisdom within your heart, and be open to feeling that.
And also, if you're open to this, what I'm saying here can be a very, very powerful reframing on many levels, but particularly at the level of your health. So typically when we have a symptom, whether a contraction in the physical body or just we feel like we're getting a cold or something doesn't feel right, the tendency immediately is to want to fix that, to separate from it, to think it's not in alignment, shouldn't be happening, and we want to fix it. But the reframing is to see that when something doesn't feel right, when a symptom arises, this is simply your vibration giving you a message. This is your vibration saying, you can change this. You can bring attention here. You can bring caring here. You can bring love here. So bad feelings, symptoms are not bad. Bad feelings, symptoms are good because they're wanting to guide you. This is our emotional guidance system. So pay attention to what you're doing with how you're feeling. Pay attention when you start to label things as negative or wrong, or we don't want them, we want to reject them. Start to reframe that at the level of your vibration, it's all just there to support you. It's all there to guide you. So bad feelings are good, and we want to welcome them, and we want to work with them, and we want to learn from them. And essentially, this is who you are. This is who we are. We are these vibratory beings. We are this, like I said earlier, this endless consciousness just having experiences. So don't feel that you need to ask anyone for permission, especially when it's concerning our mental, physical, and emotional health. Getting in touch with and feeling and embracing and experiencing your fundamental vibration will begin to tell you everything that you need to know. And this can be very restful as well. And this is a practice. This is a contemplation. And this is the approach that we're cultivating in Yin. It's resting from the habitual thoughts of the mind. It's resting from the habitual contraction of the heart. It's resting from the tightness of the body at a superficial level, and it's going into the essence of who you are vibrationally and listening to that. Negative contraction doesn't feel good. Explore it, listen to it, be willing to follow its guidance, and then open. So let's put your feet on the floor, bend your knees and put your feet on the floor, and just allow your two things that I like to do here. I either slowly let my knees go to one side and the other and kind of start to twist out the compression, or you can just put the feet on the floor and just gently press the pelvis up a little bit, a few inches, and back down and back up and back down. So just to make sure that we feel safe with the muscles before we start to roll off of this. And take your time. And then when you're ready, you can just roll over to your side and curl up, maybe put something under your head. Let's take some time here before we complete the forward bend on the other side. And certainly, I do, I presume, and I hope I understand correctly that I'm not offering any kind of medical advice, and I'm not suggesting, when I say we don't have to ask anyone for permission, I mean at the level of very deep listening. That certainly, if we need or desire support externally, it's always good to explore that. What I'm simply suggesting is that we have the opportunity to reframe the, the function of a symptom, the function of a discomfort, and how we interact with that. This is what I'm calling this emotional guidance system. If it feels bad, it is. If it feels good, it is. Bad, good, bad, good. Contracted vibration, expanded vibration. So this is for us to, start to explore and start to, even play with, be playful with it in a way. And what I'm suggesting is that the symptoms, the situations, the circumstances, the thoughts, none of these need to be fixed, is what I'm saying, is that it's all the presence of life trying to inform us. So what we might define as bad or a symptom or I wish it wasn't there or why is this happening to me has tremendous guidance and information embedded within it. So it's a shift. It's a shift. This life is a vibrational game, not a situational game. And I do realize, forgive me for being flippant about life, and sometimes I realize it doesn't seem like a game, but that would be how we're holding life vibrationally. Yes? The higher and the more ecstatic and the more blissful we allow our vibration to be, the more we can see the playfulness of it, the safety of it, the game of it, the drama of it. The more we contract into this negative vibration, the more it seems very real and fearful. So allow yourself to lighten, allow yourself to have some playfulness with this vibratory sense of your being. Okay, so let's come on up, please, if you will. Bring those vibrating vehicles up. And let's do the other side of that. So this time we're going to bring the right leg in first. And then the choice again is to keep your square position open. We'll have the large bolster or some pillows nearby for the second part of it. And you can keep it open. You can, wherever, I'm just suggesting whatever square you like. I was maybe suggesting up onto the knee, which just takes it into the hips a little bit more. Yeah. And then what I'm also suggesting too is not to just go right into it, to feel that there's a process involved, that your body's responding. And we go too fast, we miss the subtlety. We just think it's about the asana itself. But the asana is meant for us to explore this whole complexity from what we might consider dense and intense and physical to open and playful and vibrating and essential. So take your time, sink into it. and then after a time, we allow ourselves, and this is the power, the healing power of relaxing, because we allow ourselves to sink below all of these labels. So we don't really need the label of vibration. We don't need the label of consciousness. We don't need the label of good, bad feelings. We don't need the label of mind or body. We just sink into this, visceral soup of our experience and just allow it to be. And then, yes, certainly what gets evoked from this deeper place is something will come into imagery, come into the mind, something will come into the body, something will come into the felt sense, but we don't have to hold on to that. And then we can experience directly, oh yes, underneath, below, without all of these labels, there is something there. There is an essence that is vibrational. There's an essence that is aware and conscious. So these words are just convenience. These words are just to have an interplay, to allow us to just let the asana itself, the body itself, just organically reveal what your experience is. Good. So let's float up from here. And again, before you undo the square, just sit with this for a moment. Just allow the spine to elongate and relax. Allow the chest to open a bit. And just feel the presence of life moving through you. Just feel the essence of this vibration. Drop the labels. Good. Good. So let's open the legs out. And again, give the knees a bit of a breath here. And then we'll take some, we'll bring the left leg in first, because we just had that on top. So we're going to reverse what we did. And then either the large bolster or something equivalent. And this time we'll put the right leg up on top. Yeah, good. And the same thing here. You can angle this or open this, or, and if it feels a little too high, you can bring the smaller bolster, take your blankets down. And then again, nice and slow. Just feeling what the asana is evoking, being sensitive to what it's evoking. So not only are we relaxing into the asana, but we're also observing what it's evoking and then letting the labels that appear, oh, I'm thinking this, I'm feeling this, letting that relax as well. So let me just repeat something that I said earlier, because I think it is very worthy of contemplation. You don't have to agree with it or disagree with it, but you can just let it come in and see if it resonates. So what I said is that any negative contraction, I'll say, I'll leave a little leeway. I'll say 99.9% of all of your negative contraction, all of your feeling bad, fearful, worried, concern, at some level comes from a sense of lack. A sense of lack that you feel happened, a sense of lack that you feel is happening, or a sense of lack that you feel is going to happen. This is what we're contemplating in this moment, which is where we always live, in this moment, in the presence of your vibration, in the presence of being a conscious being. Can you find lack? Or do you have to go to the conditioning of your mind? Do you have to project lack to the past, to the present, or to the future? And without that lack, we're able to then feel the expansiveness of our vibration all the way to bliss, if we like. We could, hang out at happiness, but the choice is to go further. Contentment, yes. Happiness, yes. Bliss, ecstasy. The vibration at that level is unlimited. But the sense of lack will keep it contracted, will keep us concerned and fearful and worried. Something to contemplate. This emotional guidance system, very simple, very powerful. If it feels bad, it's trying to get your attention. It's sending you information to make an adjustment to feel better. If it feels good, it's good. Follow that. Allow that to unfold. Allow that to expand. So the feeling bad is really a good thing. We don't have to contract. We don't have to be afraid. We don't have to push it away. We can say, here's some feedback. Here's some feedback from my guidance system. Simple, profound, but we need to learn to trust it. Good. So let's come on up from here, please. And let's take a rest. So just allow your legs to open out and lie down, and let's relax for a bit. And as you're resting and feeling this vibrational shift from being in the asana to relaxing, again, let the breath soften into the solar plexus on the inhale, just to feel it, just to feel that the breath can evoke this physicality in this part of the body. So we inhale, feel the solar plexus. And on your exhalation, feel somewhere in the center part of the chest. And so much of what I'm sharing today, really we can look at it really in terms of alignments, yeah, not good or bad, or I should do more of this or less of that. So there's no judgment. We want to really let go of that habit of judging. Really at some level, we're perfectly healthy, even if we're having symptoms, because the symptoms are a function of, bringing us back into alignment. So the body's not doing anything by itself. The body's responding to our various lacks of alignment. So we want to honor that. We want to, appreciate that symptoms are not something that are negative. Symptoms are, a place in this vibrational network that's trying to show us something. The way that we're thinking is reflecting in the body. The lack of alignment in the mind is reflecting in the body. The vibrational holding of our whole beingness is reflected in the body. So once we start to see that, once we can let go of needing to judge good or bad and just seeing just our whole thing, if you will, our whole life, health, emotional health, and everything that goes along with it, every little detail of our life in terms of alignment, it just gives us so much more space and comes back to letting us be more playful. That we're not going to get it right. It's not about getting it right. It's already right. It's about feeling more in alignment. I think I was saying Friday in class, it's more like allowing life to be this dance. That life is this vibrational dance. It's not this puzzle. It's not this thing to get right. And I was saying also, to start making a distinction between, a sense of whatever your sense of discipline is. We bring discipline to our diet and discipline to our relationships and discipline to, most things in our life, when sometimes discipline is not really needed, but a greater sense of clarity is needed. And so if we're going to explore ourselves at this vibrational beingness, clarity is really the doorway. Clarity is the wisdom. This balance of wisdom in the heart is the clarity. Okay, so let's come on up, and we're going to move a little bit quickly, from a yin perspective, but not really, but we're not going to sink into a long hole. We're going to basically do 3 things and then repeat them. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to work into the knees. So if you have been avoiding your knees for, I understand that they're very tricky, and, we can have a lot of fear about the knees and injury and past injury. Just be aware that the contraction in the knee, one of the most ligamented synovial joints in the body, will affect how you're feeling, not only in the ankle, but in the hips. And then the hips start to feel the effects of the knees contracting, and it goes up into the psoas and the lower spine. So you can use whatever you need. The first thing we're going to do is bend the knees back. So if you have a bolster or you have some blankets or pillows, you can build up a nice little tower here. So what I've done here is I've made it so there's very little compression in my knees, and you can just build this up as much as you need to. So come to a point where you're feeling like, okay, there's my safe spot. There's where I'm just starting to feel something evoked, and that's where you start to explore. If you don't need all of this, then you can just sit down between the heels. You know, maybe you just need a little something. So if you have a little bolster, you could put that under you, just a small bolster. So that's, yeah, it takes a little bit more pressure out. But if you need nothing, then take the big bolster and put it behind you, yeah? So just for now, that's where you put the big bolster. I'll just put it behind me. Yeah. So what I would like you to do, let's get into it right now. Just bend the knees back. And I'm just going to time it very specifically. And I'm going to recommend that you bring as much of your focus into your knees. So I'm gonna try not to say anything. That's very challenging for me, not to say anything for this short amount of time. But instead of thinking about yoga and vibration and enlightenment and mind and body, I would like you to just bring your awareness into what you're feeling in this amazing joint. And we'll just do it for a relatively short time, starting now. A meditation, a concentration, a contemplation on your knees. If your mind has wandered, allow it to soften back into the knees. And allow yourself to get subtler and subtler and subtler. Good. So we're going to move now. So if you're on all your bolstering, come on off it. If you're just sitting between the heels, just let both legs come forward and just open them out about somewhere between your full straddle and hip width. So just a nice shallow angle. And then put your large bolster behind you or some pillows behind you about arm's distance back so you can put your hands on it afterwards. But for now, let's just go forward. So relax your lumbar spine and just come down to your hands or your elbows or your bolster or whatever you need for support. And we'll just relax here. And again, relatively short time. So whatever resistance you're feeling, just like we did with the knees, wherever you're feeling this at the level of resistance or density, see if you can hold your awareness and let your awareness just permeate into this area very gently with great compassion and curiosity. Imagine that, having great compassion and curiosity for your body. Good. So let's come up from here then. And you can just keep your legs out, in no sense in bending them again, because we're going to do this whole thing again. So maybe just let them rest, and then have something behind you so we can rest the hands on it. So what I would like to do, and again, I'm going to time this, is just interlock your fingers, if you will, and see if you can keep the elbows straight. And usually the large bolster height is good. If your shoulders are open, you want a little bit higher, or you need a little lower, or you're not able to interlock, just bring the arms back. So whatever you can do to kind of open the shoulders. And then let's try to keep as much stillness as possible for this. But again, coming back to the cycles of the breath, what's really interesting here, especially if you can stay relatively still, is take a little bit deeper inhale and just feel all the micro movement that's happening. It's incredible. All of these bones externally rotating on the inhale, and then coming back to an internal rotation or close to it on the exhale. So just relax, be still, breathe gently. And listen. Good. So let's release the arms. Yes. And I'd like to just repeat this whole thing and just notice if something feels a little bit different. So especially for the knees, sometimes that first time will open them and you may be able to bring your bolstering down a bit, or maybe they've had enough for that first 2 minutes and you want to bolster up. So whatever you feel works for you, you can, again, come to something, doesn't take much sometimes to just bring a little space in between them. Or if you're able to, again, sit down between the heels, or you could even sit on the heels if you would like. again, just to evoke some compression in this part of the body. And again, we'll just try to really bring as much as our awareness to saturate into this, again, this very complicated and tricky synovial joint. So I'm going to time it pretty exact like last time. So no concerns there how long it's going to be held, but just really allow yourself to, just appreciate and feel and just welcome, if there's resistance, again, if there's something you might call a symptom, if there's something you're not sure about, it's trying to communicate with you on some level. Good. So once again, we'll come into forward. If you're sitting on stuff, come off of it. If not, just bring your legs forward. And again, we'll open them. Whatever angle feels good here for your hips, I'm just suggesting a nice open hip, not hip width, not a wider straddle, so they can be for maximum relaxation. And then same thing, soften upper body, support it if you need to, and just come forward, just so you can hover and allow the weight of the upper body to draw you into these, just the edge of your range of motion, the place where some density is evoked. It's always different. It's always changing. And like I said earlier, and this is really a very important part of this approach, is to whatever it is, you can become more subtle with it. Don't just label it and don't just analyze it. Don't do anything with it. Just become subtle with it. Just feel into the subtlety of whatever it is. It's quite amazing. And this is really how we eventually we open up into the vibration. Because like I said, the vibration doesn't have the semantics. It doesn't have the imagery. It just is. So that's the beautiful thing about the subtlety, is we start to feel ourselves as this movement and energy and vibration and consciousness and breath. And
Good. So let's again come up from here.
And so again, we're going to do the same thing with the arms behind the back, but we're not going to bend the knees back yet a third time. So if you'd like to cross the legs back in, you can. If not, you can just keep them out, your choice. And then let's do that same thing. We'll interlock the fingers behind the back and just start to bring them up with straight elbows as much as possible. Yeah. So again, obviously the shoulders and wrists and elbows, but feeling the rib cage as well, and the sternum and all the complexity there. And this time I'd like to suggest two things, and you can do this at your own pace. I'd like to suggest to take an in breath and then open the jaw as wide as possible to just feel the tension in your face and your jaw muscle. So the opening of the mouth wide, 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 just to stretch that out. And you can do that a couple of times. And then when you've completed that, this time, if you'd like to, with keeping the arms up, if you'd like to just let the head roll or dangle or flop or whatever you want to do with it, just to kind of feel the delicate strands of tightness that might be woven into the neck area. So just take your time with this. Let's just stay here and let's stop all the movement if you're still moving, and just again we'll sit in stillness for just a bit longer and just notice notice what I'm really suggesting today is the idea of a shoulder or a neck, a rib cage, or it's just language, it's just imagery. They don't really exist. What exists is that you are vibrating. And so allow yourself to just slowly melt into this, feel into this primal sense that you are vibrating, that you are conscious, that you are presence itself. Not that you're present, you can be present, but you are presence, primal presence. Good, so let's release the arms then, and let's lie down and take a rest from this. So let me see if I can just say this another way. I feel like I'm really repeating the same thing over and over because I feel like it's challenging to put into words. So if this seems repetitive, that's good. And again, if something resonates, let it. If it doesn't, it's fine as well. So what I'm saying about this idea of symptoms being good, about the bad feelings being good, is that ultimately what we're exploring is that when the mind is aligned with a higher vibration, when the mind is aligned with the vibration of health and well-being and love and humility, that will be reflected in your body.
when the mind is aligned with a contraction and lack, then that will be reflected in the body, and that will be reflected as a symptom. So we want to take that information and see if we can then release the contraction of a fear and lack and open the vibration to a more expansive place. So nothing here is separate. It's an interwoven matrix of vibration and expression. So again, the body's doing nothing on its own. It's simply expressing, it's reflecting the alignment of the mind with these higher vibrations. This is, one of the reasons why the breath is such a beautiful thing to, I want to say to study, and maybe that's what I mean. It's very different in yin from, very stylized and technical pranayamas. We're not trying to affect something. We're not trying to manipulate body, mind with the breath. What we're trying to see is what the breath at finer and finer levels is really reflecting. So when we're just breathing unconsciously off the top of the lungs, it's basically just reflecting the anxiety of our life. And, this is when we get frightened or, startled, we breathe up into the top part of the chest. So to genuinely slow down, deepen, calm, and relax your breathing allows a whole different quality of exploration. And again, subtler and subtler. What is my breath reflecting? And this doesn't have to be linear. It's a delving into the subtle realms of body, mind, heart, and beingness, when we really start to feel that the breath has no inherent meaning. We don't have to put meaning onto it. Different than pranayama, we just feel it, we experience it. And then if reflections and insights are gained from that, lovely. We take them in and we let them go. So come on up, please, if you will, if you're able to. If you're willing and able to come on up. And get yourself a blanket. Yeah, let's do this with the blanket. So, I have this nice wool blanket that works nice. So the heavier duty the blanket, the better. That'll depend on how you're feeling in the mid-back. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it up to mimic like the yoga block. I think I have one here. Yeah, so the yoga block is a little more rigid, obviously, but pretty much the same height and the same shape. But I'm going to suggest the blanket. You could use the block if you have one and you want to use it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place this in the mid-back area, up. So mid-up scapula, shoulder blade area. So nice. You didn't see, I just folded it so it's nice and supportive, basically, so it'll give some compression as well.
And again, keeping the feet on the floor. Oh, and you may want to have something for your head. It depends on how your neck is feeling. So another blanket, a towel, pillow, or the small bolster. And just place it initially so you're just at the edge of the lower edge of the scapula is best. And keep the feet on the floor, and then let the upper body drape over it. And then maybe if the head is dangling, you may want something under there. Yeah, so just listen to the neck, yes. If you can just dangle all the way and you feel safe with that, opening the throat, that's great. And then when you open out the legs, this will tell you if it's in a good spot. So it can be, it's soft enough, it can be on the shoulder blades, but not too high up, the lower end of it. So it's really in this mid-thoracic spine. So here, right down from my sternum, there would the bolster be. Arms are out to the side, legs are relaxed out. And then again, always preparing this compression to be able to stay here for a good period of time. And always remembering never to struggle with these positions, never to feel like you're just holding on. Always really fitting it to your body. So the position, the compression, the bolstering is meant to evoke something. And we want to explore what it's evoking. We want to be able to be present with or relax into, to soften. So always feel like you can come off of this, rest, rearrange it, change it, lower it, heighten it, whatever works for your body. So we're just going systematically through the body and applying compression. Yes, and this compression certainly works on a biodynamic level. It works on a cellular and hormonal level, but it's also, each asana is meant for us to sink into these more subtle realms, to explore this idea that we are vibrational and how that feels. And also, so you can spend some time just languishing in the present moment. We have nothing to do, no technique, and we want to be able to pay attention to the present moment closely enough so we don't have to disturb it. We don't have to disturb it with wishing this wasn't happening, this hurts, or why am I doing this? Am I doing it right? On and on and on, what the mind will do to just disturb and pull us away from the present moment. So to look at the unfolding, the morphing of the present moment, this is very valuable. Feel it deeply, right down to the cellular level. So this is where the most essential of your vibration is happening. Everything arises from there. Absolutely nothing to think about. Allow your awareness to disengage from your thought and just very slowly let the awareness weave into the texture detail of your experience. So this universe that we get to live and play in and explore in, essentially it doesn't respond to words. We don't need to tell it what we want or tell it what we don't want. Essentially, it responds to vibration.
So we want to begin to explore how to remove our conditions of our vibration based on what we're thinking, what our circumstances are, what our situations are, how our body is feeling, and allow our vibration to expand. Allow our vibration to become very safe and open and expansive and happy and blissful. And this is what then the universe responds to. And this really is the yoga. The exploration of the yoga is how to then take the contractions and the symptoms and the discomfort and the pain and see that it's just a message. It's just this vibration contracting. How do I then relax that? How do I stop giving myself these conditioned messages, keeping my vibration contracted and low, and just start to open to my natural state, which is a flowing, compassionate, loving vibration. So let's move out of this very slowly as well. Let's put your feet on the floor and just have some intuitive movement to kind of massage into this mid-back area. Not forgetting that the mid-back certainly is connected to the upper and the lower spine. So really take your time. You can bring the knees side to side or bring the knees up a little to the chest or whatever feels good here. The main thing is to take your time and just really feel it. Feel the results of the compression over time. This contraction and expansion that I was suggesting earlier is fundamental to our cells, and then that rises up and we feel it in these larger structures, but it's the same vibration. So this is what we're kind of working on. We're massaging into the body. The contraction we press into, it releases a bit. The contraction we press into, it releases a bit. It's a lovely, it's such a simple study really on some level. And then when you're done with that movement, let's take another rest here. And that's one of the, the sort of the brilliant aspects of the teaching of Stephen Harrison, is that in often a humorous and a sarcastic, but also a very brilliant way, what he's suggesting over and over again is that you are always exactly where you need to be. You're always exactly who you need to be. And to be very careful when the teachings draw you out of that, when the teachings draw you to a place of self-improvement or adding something or taking something away or into a conceptual realm, and to start with that fundamental basic premise that you're right here, right now, and that to listen to the wisdom of your own beingness, to recognize this very deeply and not get distracted. And I'm not saying, and I don't think he's saying that teachers are not to be participated with, but we want to notice where that line is, where we can get distracted by that, and to be able to sit within our own presence, our own counsel, to find that balance that's within our heart, within our mind, and trust that wisdom is always present. And this is precisely why I've been suggesting, and certainly I'm suggesting this from a very personal, practical place. This is, what I study. This is what I'm really trying to learn myself. So I'm in no way suggesting that I've mastered it, but what I'm suggesting is to, be careful of your relationship with anything that is symptomatic, whether it's an emotional challenge, a physical challenge, a psychological challenge, a spiritual challenge, and to see that that edge of difficulty, that edge of challenge is the universe giving you a gift, and how we sit with that gift, how we listen to that gift, how we honor and respect that gift is very, very important. I've been thinking a lot, as I often will. Sometimes it's always a tender area for me to, to think about the power of humility. It's often a double-edged sword, because you start to feel like you're humble, and then you realize, oh, well, that's not very humble. But one of the things I've been realizing lately and really exploring is that part of my exploration of humility is really being open and honest where I'm not humble, and how humbling that is to just be able to sit where, like, oh yes, instead of having this humility as a concept that you can kind of, check off on your list of, spiritual accomplishments, just to open up the space to see genuinely where I'm not humble. And that just sort of whole space for me to allow to sit in a genuine humility. So it's very, very interesting to allow ourselves just the honesty to contemplate the nature of what we're experiencing, this direct experience that is always available to us. Okay, so come on up, and I want to twist into the shoulders a bit, but I'm going to show you two ways to do this. So you can either do this, what we'll do, two ways to do this. I'm just going to show it. Instead of telling you that I'm going to show it and then show it, I'll just save some time. So we'll start from a child's pose, yeah, for the first part, just to kind of snuggle in. And then if you're open to getting into the hips a bit, we'll just open this child's pose to a wide knee. Yeah, we won't make it into like a frog, because I like to stay far away from that frog position. So just open kneed, wide knee child pose. And then we'll stretch the arms out and bring the left arm under the right shoulder and rest on that shoulder, yeah? And then the right arm can just be where it is. Put something under the head if you want. So this is the wide knee version with the twist onto the shoulder. If you're feeling like, well, maybe not so much for the knees or the hips today, then you can just relax the legs out, as I often do, and just do this with the legs straight out. So we'll put the left arm under the right shoulder and have, I'm running out of space here, have the right side of the body relaxing over. So we're not leaning on the left side, but we're putting that weight as much into the left shoulder as possible. So your choice either way. I know sometimes you just, the hips can only take so much, especially if you're no longer a youngster like myself. Although I have to say, I used to not even be able to do that pose when I first started doing this practice. And over the years, even with my advanced age now, I feel such a suppleness in my hips and my knees, and they feel on a regular basis very hydrated and really open to receiving this. So yeah, always just start where you are and move slowly into it. A little in, a little out, a little in, a little out. It's not it's not a complicated practice. I mean, essentially, yoga is not a complicated practice. I do understand that it has the potential to become complicated, but the essence of yoga is no separation. And so we get to explore that there is no separation of our beingness with our mind, or beingness with our heart, or beingness with our body, or our beingness with our discomfort. So it's a very practical sitting with oneself as this wholeness and no separation from life itself. We're just not separate. And so where the appearance of separation arises, this is where we want to sit with and go into the subtlety and the texture of that. Can we find anything that is separate, except with an image, except with a thought concept about it? You know, we can conceptualize anything, but is the reality of our beingness separate from anything? That's the simplicity of yoga.
So whichever position you're in, you can use that right arm to lift you up. If you are in the wide knee position of the child and you want to bring it back into child to give those hips a rest before you go to the other side, feel free to do that. If you're okay to stay there and then take the right arm and put it under the left. And if you don't have the wide knee, you can just go ahead and switch. And again, if the legs are out, make sure that the whole left side of the body is over as much as possible so it's not rolling to the right. So we'll just come to the other side.
Yes, if I was going to, distill everything that I was talking about in this particular class, it would really come down to intelligence. That when we really become still and quiet and receptive, whatever language that we're using,
and we really feel who we are. We feel into this beingness, that there's an intelligence there. We know that because our heart is beating and we don't have to do anything, and our food digests and we don't have to do anything. So, deep down into this cellular matrix, we instinctively know there's intelligence. And part of this exploration of yoga is how to trust that. And sometimes we do need to put a concept around it. Sometimes we do need to put a container for it to explore it. And sometimes we can just trust it. But I think whatever it is that we trust, we really have to trust it. So we're not only exploring the fundamental primal intelligence of all of life, but we're also exploring how to trust that. And I certainly think that part of this trust is that emotional guidance system that I talked about, that if it feels bad, it is. If it feels good, it is. And how to really start to refine that, and how to apply that, and how to use that as a vehicle for transformation. And sometimes it can be very basic. Yes, it's very basic sometimes, and we just need to make these fundamental changes. And we also want to be available that sometimes it's very multidimensional and very subtle. The things that we're working on with our relationships and our health and our well-being and our spiritual practice, just to be open that it's never really black or white, and that the element of mystery is always available to us, and we can rest in that we're not trying to figure anything out. We're simply trying to allow our vibration to be open and compassionate and loving, so we can take good care of ourselves and ultimately help others. So let's move out of this as well. And just kind of roll that arm out from under. And then you can just flip over onto your back and come into Shavasana and relax. Or if you would like, you can sit up with me and we'll prepare to close. So I've just been leaving, as most of you know, I've just been leaving the end of class open-ended because I know you can stay there as long as you want. So I'm not been doing a formal Shavasana. I'm more just taking class to the very end and then doing it this way. So yeah, so we'll just take a little bit of time here to continue our relaxation and our contemplation, and then we'll close our practice.
Namaste.